Hello and welcome back to Jacob's Toys 5-minute reviews. Today we are taking a look at the Baron Zemo figure from the Falcon and Winter Soldier TV show. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Any support to the channel is much appreciated. So straight off the bat, before we start the timer, I wanted to compare this figure to the comic book counterpart that we also received from Marvel Legends. Just a quick side-by-side comparison just to show you what the comic book character looks like next to the one that we saw in the television show. There are a lot of differences, but then I think there are a lot of similarities that make them both recognisable as a Baron Zemo. Let's just take him away for a second and I'll just grab the box so that we can have a look like we have done with some of the other reviews. There we go. The artwork is nice. Again, it's a photograph illustration of the character from the show with a little description. And obviously on the front there you've got the Disney Plus sign, Falcon and Winter Soldier sign and Baron Zemo. Right, straight in with the timer. Let's go in and have a look. First of all, I just want to say it is a really nicely made figure. There's a lot of articulation in the head and neck. The arms are pinless, so obviously there's no pins on show there. However, the legs do have pins. The actual body is quite nice. To be totally honest with you, I can't remember exactly what his shirt looked like in the show, so I can't really pass comment. He comes with a little gold gun, which is obviously a little bit unfortunate because it's not very realistic looking. And he also comes with a Sokovia book as well that was used in the film The Winter Soldier. He comes with a number of hands, so obviously he can hold this hand, and he also comes with a pointing finger as well. So he can hold the book and point to it, or point up, or point at a character. He stands quite nicely. The long coat is a new sculpt from what I can tell, and it looks quite nice. There's the other two hands, both closed fists. So we've got an open hand that can hold the gun or the book, a pointing finger, and then two closed fists as well. Just put them down there with the gun. And we also have the unmasked head. Just standing back up. The unmasked head is actually a really nice sculpt. Photoreal technology has captured the likeness of the actor very well. Profile shot there. Just put that down and let's swap him over. Head comes off quite easily, and you can just pop on that unmasked head as well. Obviously in the actual show we only saw him in his mask for a short period of time, and for the majority of the show he bared a similar resemblance to this. However, the mask is obviously an iconic look for Baron Zemo, and there was a lot of people that complained that we didn't see that in the film when the character was first introduced to the MCU. All in all, it's a really nice figure. The neck has a lot of articulation, as I previously said, so you can get some really good angles there. The coat is a really nice sculpt. The body, the detailing on the body is very nice. Even on the back of the coat there, you've got quite a lot of detail, and the third collar. It's a nice range of accessories. I would have liked to have had a more realistic weapon, but obviously we don't get a huge amount of those with the figures, so it is that kind of comic book gun cast in the gold kind of plastic. But all in all, a really nice figure. I thought he was a great character in the show. I'm really pleased that they decided to make a figure of him, because I think the Disney show Falcon and Winter Soldier, you couldn't have had a Disney Plus wave without Baron Zemo, especially after his importance in the MCU movies. Let's take that book out for a second. The book doesn't open, it's quite flat. There's not much to it, but obviously it has a little black star on it, so there isn't a huge amount that they could have done with that. I'm just going to take that unmasked head back off and put back on the masked head, because I think because it's such an iconic look, this is the way that I will display him. Like with many of my reviews, the one thing that really let this figure down in my opinion is the lack of a realistic weapon. So once again, out of my weapons pot, I've just got a revolver here. It'll just fit into his hand and just give him a bit more realistic look. As you can see straight away, adding a more realistic revolver makes the character look a little bit more realistic than having a big bright gold gun. So there we go. I'm not quite sure what you'll do with the pointing finger. It's a nice novelty to have. Obviously we've seen that on a few other figures before, like various Captain Americas in the past, but it's definitely a good one to have. I've been hoping that we'll get a finger like this for a Doctor Strange figure, so that we can obviously recreate that look in Endgame. So there we go. All in all, really solid figure. Really pleased with him. I think it's a bit bizarre that we got pinless technology on the arms but not on the legs, but then I do understand why they're just reusing the mould of the suited legs. Let me just change these hands over and put him into a look that I will probably display him in. A closed fist hand and the revolver holded hand as well, with the mask on. And I think that's a pretty decent MCU version of Baron Zemo. Obviously the character in the comic books has a very different look to this, but I think that they did well with it, and I think that this particular figure captures that look perfectly, allowing you to have both movie version of him and the TV version of him as well. Let me just grab the comic book one, and then we can put them side by side once again and actually make a comparison. Now obviously, because the Baron Zemo in the comics is a comic book character, he's a lot larger than life. You've got the big gold boots, or big yellow boots, the big yellow gloves, obviously the huge sword, but I think as far as an MCU version of him goes, they did very well, and this figure captures that perfectly. Now before I finish, there is one other thing that I've seen on community pages, and that is the Killmonger head from Black Panther. Some people had put that onto this body, and then obviously you get a civilian looking Killmonger, and I think it actually works quite well. The head fits pretty nicely without any real work, it just pops on quite nicely, and you get yourself a civilian style Killmonger. Now I'm not going to rush out and buy myself a second Zemo just to display this, because there is a bit of a gap there between the back when you actually look around, but for action figure photography, if I wanted a civilian Killmonger, this is the perfect body, and I think the fur on the collar just adds to that look as well. But anyway, let's take that head back off and put the masked Zemo head back on. I know it's outside the 5 minutes, but just to appreciate the detail on this, the eyes are really nice in the mask. It's not a lazy job at all, and both heads will give you a pretty solid MCU Zemo. Thanks very much for watching Jacob's Toys 5-minute figure reviews. If you've enjoyed this, then please do like, share and subscribe. Any support is much appreciated.